Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tasyapi drastur ishasya Kutastasya kilatmanaha Srijam srijami shistoham Ikshayai vabhichotitaha. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayan, under his vision as the all-pervading Supersoul. And I also am created by him only. Purport by his divine grace, A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada. Even Brahma, the creator of the universe, admits that he is not the actual creator, but is simply inspired by the Lord Narayan, and therefore creates under his superintendence those things already created by him, the Supersoul of all living entities. Two identities of soul, the Supersoul and the individual soul, are admitted to be in the living entity, even by the greatest authority of the universe. The Supersoul is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, whereas the individual soul is the eternal servitor of the Lord. The Lord inspires the individual soul to create what is already created by the Lord. And by the good will of the Lord, a discoverer of something in the world is accredited as the discoverer. It is said that Columbus discovered the Western Hemisphere, but actually the tract of land was not created by Columbus. The vast tract of land was already there by the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord. And Columbus, by dint of his past service unto the Lord, was blessed with the credit of discovering America. Similarly, no one can create anything without the sanction of the Lord, since everyone sees according to his ability. This ability is also awarded by the Lord according to one's willingness to render service unto the Lord. One must therefore be voluntarily willing to render service unto the Lord, and thus the Lord will empower the doer in proportion to his surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Lord Brahma is a great devotee of the Lord. Therefore, he has been empowered or inspired by the Lord to create such a universe as the one manifested before us. The Lord also inspired Arjuna to fight in the field of Kurukshetra as follows. Tasmat tvam utishta yasho labhasva jitva satrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayai vaite nihata purvameva nimittamatram bhavasavyasachin. Bhagavad Gita 11:33. The battle of Kurukshetra or any other battle at any place or at any time is made by the will of the Lord. For no one can arrange such mass annihilation without the sanction of the Lord. The party of Duryodhana insulted Draupadi, a great devotee of Krishna, and she appealed to the Lord as well as to all the silent observers of this unwarranted insult. Arjuna was then advised by the Lord to fight and take credit. Otherwise, the party of Duryodhana would be killed anyway by the will of the Lord. So Arjuna was advised just to become the agent and take the credit for killing great generals like Bhishma and Karna. In the Vedic writings such as the Katha Upanishad, the Lord is described as the Sarvabhuta Antaratma, or the personality of Godhead, who resides in everyone's body and who directs everything for one who is a soul surrendered unto him. Those who are not surrendered souls are put under the care of the material nature. Brahmayan sarvabhutani yantrarudani mayaya. Therefore, they are allowed to do things on their own account and suffer the consequences themselves. Devotees like Brahma and Arjuna do not do anything on their own account, but as fully surrendered souls, they always await indications from the Lord. Therefore, they attempt to do something which appears very wonderful to ordinary vision. One of the Lord's names is Urukrama, or one whose actions are very wonderful and are beyond the imagination of the living being. So the actions of his devotees sometimes appear very wonderful due to the direction of the Lord. Beginning from Brahma, the topmost intelligent living entity within the universe, down to the smallest ant. Every living entity's intelligence is overseen by the Lord in his transcendental position as the witness of all actions. The subtle presence of the Lord is felt by the intelligent man who can study the psychic effects of thinking, feeling, and willing. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his vision as the all-pervading supersoul. And I also am created by him only. Hare Krishna. Very grateful to be with you today. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Temple. On this Sunday morning. Yesterday, we celebrated Mokshada Ekadasi, which is the day that Lord Sri Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita through his devotee Arjuna to all the world for all time. By the grace of Srila Vyasadeva, Bhagavad Gita is preserved so that we could all participate in that conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Every day, whenever by our own sweet will we decide to turn to Krishna's words. In today's verse, Vyasadeva, through Srimad Bhagavatam, is giving us another incredible historical conversation to participate in. In previous chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, we learn the process of creation from a particular perspective, where the Supreme Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the words Janmadhyasya. Brahma Sutra, in which Srimad Bhagavatam is commentary, begins with this Janmadhyasya Yataha. Who is the absolute truth or God? The source of everything that exists. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna declares himself to be Sarva Karana Karanam, the cause of all causes. In the essential 4 nutshell verses, which contain all the knowledge of the Gita, Krishna begins, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all spiritual and all material worlds. Everything emanates from me. And in other scriptures of the world, they generally begin by describing God as the creator of everything. Ambija Pratapita, the original father and mother of everyone. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavamam papattite vasudeva sarvamiti samamasu. After cultivating lifetimes and lifetimes of knowledge, when one actually understands the truth, they surrender to Vasudeva, to the Supreme Lord, knowing Krishna to be the source of everything. And from the spiritual perspective, to the extent a person does that, that is greatness, Mahatma. A great soul is not just one who can invent things or who can do fascinating things in this world. Even mystical powers are not considered greatness from the spiritual perspective, but one who surrenders to the Supreme, knowing Him to be the cause of all causes and all that is. That is greatness. So this description is there of Brahma being created from a lotus flower. His name is Atmabhu. He has no mother. He's self-manifested by the will of Krishna. And the whole beginning of this process of creation in relation to the first created being. How does it all start? Brahma's bewildered. Krishna knows everything. He's the creator. But within his creation, the beginning of creation, the first living entity within the universe, he's bewildered. What is his potential? But still, that potential cannot be realized or exercised until he surrenders. So he's searching by his own, he already has, Brahma's brain and Brahma's senses and Brahma's body, that's all already there. But still, this existence is so complex, he couldn't understand really who he was, or where he was coming from, or what he was supposed to do, or how he was supposed to do it. And with all of his efforts, he tried to figure it all out, but he couldn't. And in that humbled condition, the Lord, he spoke these words, tapa, that he should perform tapasya. In other words, he said, surrender to Narayan. And in that surrender, in that meditation, absorption, in taking shelter of the Lord, Krishna manifested to him and made him not only the creator of the universe, not only the knower of everything that is supposed to be given in disciplic succession in this universe, but he gave him all the technical and mechanical skills. Imagine Brahma, what his brain is. Somebody like scientists like Albert Einstein, they are considered such geniuses because they could create theories which are foundational to so much science and technology of what's going on today and tomorrow. Where do they get these ideas from? Compared to us, yes, such a genius, inconceivable. It's actually inconceivable how people think like this. He more or less kind of, all the scientists of the Western world who preceded him, he kind of did something more than all of them. And even changed so much. But Brahma, he's created his brain. He's created the materials that compose the brain. He's created all the things that the great geniuses are trying to understand within the creation. In every generation, they're discovering, something more, or sometimes something less. But what is this inconceivable creation of what the universe is? There's so many different theories of gravity. But gravity's always been the same. It's just our understandings evolve. But from the beginning of the universe, gravity, Brahma put it all together. We're trying to understand astronomy. What is the universe is, and all these telescopes and more powerful telescopes and rocket ships trying to go up and understand what different planets are. Brahma put it all together. What is his technical skills? We talk about atomic bombs, nuclear, whatever. We talk about atomic particles and how, the potencies within these atomic particles. Trying to discover the power within even the most fundamental elements of creation. Brahma made them all. He knows how they work. Such a person. He lives 311 trillion years. Can you imagine? And everything is relative. This idea of special relativity and general relativity and the theory of relativity. It's all about how everything in creation is relative to so many other time and nature and each other and influences. Everything is relative. And sometimes we all use example that a human being, our relative experience of 100 years is what we know. But a little insect may live through the entire 100-year cycle of our experience. Being born, being a baby, growing up, having this impulse for procreation, having children, having grandchildren, getting old. And the insect doesn't want to die much more than we do. And that may be within a span of our 3 months. So it's inconceivable to them what our 100 years are. Brahma, he's about 50 years old now, according to the Puranas. How many people are about 50 or older? Please raise your hands. How many are 20 or older? 20 years older. How many are sleeping? Brahma goes to sleep too. The whole description of his sleeping in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, we think of when we were children, or we think about earlier today. Yes? When Brahma, 50 years old, he remembers everything too. He's very empowered being. We forget what we do a few minutes before sometimes. Brahma has such a memory. When he just thinks about what happened to him earlier today. Now, relative, it's the same as us thinking about what happened to us earlier today. What to speak of yesterday or the day before or last year? Just earlier today for Brahma, he has seen, he knows. Srila Prabhupada was on Jaladuta. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave him the instruction in 1922. Bhakti Vinod Thakur was preaching, writing in so many of his books. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was there. He was He was there when Radhanath Swami was speaking to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami on the banks of Radha Kund. He was there doing the Leelas of Narottam Das Thakur and the others, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya, Nimbarkacharya, Ballabhacharya. Just earlier today for Brahma, Krishna descended 5,000 years ago. Srila Prabhupada was, what to speak of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada would say, just recently, only 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya. Now, for us, 500 years is a long time. But for Brahma, it's a few minutes ago. It's a few seconds ago. Relative to our experience. Krishna appears, and it's considered so rare that Krishna appears in his original supreme form of Radha Govinda. And it happens once in a day of Brahma. What to speak of earlier today for Brahma, what to speak of some days ago. There was Ram Leela, Varaha Leela. What to speak of all the worldly history that we are so much concerned with. Such a personality. So Brahma has received all his spiritual knowledge, all his intellectual capacity, all his creative abilities, and all the materials for the purpose of creation. The three modes of nature, the five gross elements, the three subtle elements. Time. Everything is being given to him by Krishna, along with the intelligence of how to manipulate it to make things like us and all the things around us. That's Brahma. So here he is, creating planets, creating species of life, creating all the wonders of the world and the universe. And his son, who was born of his own mind, is Narada Muni. And Narada's seeing what Brahma's doing. It's absolutely incredible. We cannot even imagine, with all the special effects that we may depend upon, what has Brahma done and what is he doing at every moment? By Krishna's arrangement, Brahma is the creator. And even people like Hiranyakashipu, they worship Brahma because they understood if they want any powers, they have to get it from him. But then someone like Hiranyakashipu, as soon as he gets all these powers from Brahma, then immediately his false ego, this is mine, I am great. This is a very subtle lesson. What is the difference between someone like Hiranyakashipu and someone like Prahlad? Hiranyakashipu, yes, he was empowered by unbelievable abilities and an intellect. And he knows that he got it all from the blessings of Lord Brahma. But after he gets it, because of an ungrateful heart, he thinks this is mine and I can use it any way I want. And he was outraged when little Prahlad honored a power above his own. He was totally deluded. He was completely dependent on a higher power. The more you get, the more you think you're independent. So Narada Muni, he's seeing what Brahma's doing. And actually, he really wants to understand such an episode of history. Because in our parampara, first there's Krishna, then Brahma, then Narada Muni. And from Narada Muni, so many disciples. Valmiki Muni, who writes Ramayana. Vyasadeva, who writes Srimad Bhagavatam and all the other Vedas practically. The Upanishads, the Mahabharata, the Itihastas. Prahlad, who was such an empowered personality. Dhruva. And it's very interesting because most of these situations, when Narada Muni spoke to these people, they were all in very, very transitional situations of life. Dhruva had just been insulted and heartbroken and devastated by being humiliation, heartache, and a feeling of total betrayal. Narada Muni comes, and he was ready to hear. Prahlad is the son of Hiranyakashipu. The demigods were about to murder him in the womb. They were waiting for him to be born so they could kill him. The wife of Hiranyakashipu was kidnapped. He was out conquering and tapasyas. And Narada Muni, let me have her. This child and this, I certify that he's a great person. And he knew what this little embryo in the womb was going to endure after he's born. Being the son of Hiranyakashipu. Being in the atmosphere created by Hiranyakashipu. What hope is there for a child like that? Either you become like your father or you die. That was essentially the way Hiranyakashipu was running his, and he didn't have to go for any elections or anything. He was the king of the universe. Just by his own powers. Narada Muni knows this. The demigods wanted to kill little Prahlad because they were in such fear of the power of Hiranyakashipu. His father's going to train him to be just like him. We can't have two. At least now we can, what is that saying? That prevention is the best part of cure. So when Narada Muni is speaking to Prahlad's mother, he's actually speaking to Prahlad, the little embryo in the womb, because he knows what is going to be the totally traumatic, difficult childhood that this child is going to have. I have to give him the strength to remain faithful to the loving service of Krishna through the most difficult challenges any human being could possibly imagine. And he did. And little Prahlad, even when he was through Parampara, he was repeating Narada Muni's words to his friends because nobody else in the entire kingdom would listen to him. When he tried to repeat just a few of the words of his guru, his father decided to kill him. And his friends asked, where did you get this information from, Prahlad? You're going to the same school as us, and you're never allowed to go anywhere outside the palace of Hiranyakashipu. Where did you learn this? He said, from my guru, Narada Muni. So Narada prepared him when he was in the womb of his mother. Such a personality, Narada Muni. And here we are sitting today. Through sound vibration, we are there. We are back near the beginning of this whole creation. We're sitting as Narada Muni is sincerely inquiring from his father Brahma. So much the seed of our parampara. Because Narada Muni is really he didn't understand. He's an empowered soul. We read about his previous life and all the blessings he received from saints. But in this life, he's a disciple. Inquiring submissively, trying to understand. My dear Father, I see what you're doing. It's incredible. You're creating everything and everyone. And you're doing it yourself. There's nobody around to help you. How are you doing this? And he was asking all these questions like Arjuna, like Parikshit Maharaj. And we are reading now Lord Brahma's answers, his instructions to Narada Muni. And it's all based around a simple principle. Brahma is explaining, yes, you can see I'm doing all these things, but actually I'm powerless to do anything. It is all done by Lord Narayan. Everything. This is the beginning of our parampara right now, where whoever you are, however great or small you may be, to not take credit for anything. If Brahma can't take credit, who are we? He's emphatic. And I'm completely helplessly dependent on Krishna. And Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita, I'm the ability in man. I'm the intelligence of the intelligent. I'm the strength of the strong. I'm the light of the sun and the moon. He's the cause of all causes. And Srila Prabhupada, in this beautiful purport, he cites Christopher Columbus. In America, it's a national holiday, Columbus Day. all the stores close and the banks close and you don't have to go to school. Some sort of holiday like that, Columbus Day, and there's parades and everything like that, even now. Srila Prabhupada is, the way he describes that it is said that Columbus discovered the Western Hemisphere. But actually, the tract of land was not created by Columbus. I remember when 1969, I was in college for one semester. I don't want to take credit for any more than I... And then I came to India. But while I was there, there was a Native American Indian. They call them Indians. Somebody who, for generations, as long as we can trust time, their families lived here. And then Columbus came. And then all these European people started coming. And then, the nature of the ego of this land is mine. And it took the land away from the people who were living here and everything like that. And this person from a Native American Indian family, he said that he failed an exam in school as a child because he refused to write that Columbus discovered America. How can you say that he discovered, well, my great-great-grandparents were living here all the time? It's like me coming to Sri Dhammasaka Prabhu's house and saying, I discovered your house, now you have to leave. Actually, there's no difference. We would never do that. But this is the way people, Srila Prabhupada is so amazing, the way he describes this. He says, it was not created by Columbus. The vast tract of land was already there by the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord. And then Srila Prabhupada writes, and Columbus, by dint of his past service unto the Lord, was blessed with the credit of discovering America. So we could learn so much from this sentence of Srila Prabhupada. But Srila Prabhupada is giving credit to the person who did it on behalf of Krishna, but with full knowledge that it's only happening by Krishna's grace. For us, we give all the credit of our spiritual lives and all the potentials of what we could be for the rest of eternity in Krishna service. We give that credit to Srila Prabhupada. Because yes, from Vrindavan, from Jaladuta, he traveled, he went so many tapasyas. Brahma did tapasya so that he can give us transcendental knowledge. What was Prabhupada's tapasya? So we're having Guru Puja for Srila Prabhupada. But whenever Srila Prabhupada would speak, he always said, it is only by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada never took credit for anything. He gave all, I am simply repeating the words of my Guru Maharaj. And when we read the writings of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he's completely dependent upon giving all credit to Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. This is parampara. Vyasadev, what has he done? Every guru, we're worshiping Vyasa Puja. We're worshiping Vyasa and his representatives. And yet, from Vyasadev's perspective, he was also bewildered. He's a literary incarnation of Krishna, but Krishna puts people like Arjuna and Narada and Vyasadev and even Brahma himself in bewildered states just to teach us what is at the very heart and core of transcendental realization. Yes, so if we're so ungrateful, if somebody helps us and we think, why should I thank you? I'll thank Krishna. Because you can't do anything without Krishna. The whole concept of parampara is actually the culture of life itself. If we extend it to our ordinary dealings in this world. Srila Prabhupada, yes, Columbus did something, but everything he did was by the grace of Krishna. And even if he did a little, he did a lot of things wrong too. But still, there's whatever good is there, we honor. And this is very much within the Bhagavad Gita's teachings that we heard yesterday. That when somebody is doing something great, we recognize that Krishna's giving them the power to do this. So we honor both the person who is delivering that goodness on behalf of Krishna, and we're also understanding that ultimately it's Krishna. But most of all, for ourselves, we're totally clear as Brahma is. Narada Muni is praising him for his incredible acts as a creator. And Brahma's replying, actually, I can't do anything without Krishna. And he's describing how spiritually, emotionally, and physically, he's totally dependent on Krishna. Prakrite kriyamanani guni karmani sarvasha. Those who are under the influence of Maya, illusion, think themselves to be the doers of activities, when actually they're carried out by nature. Mayat yakshena prakriti suyate sacharacha. And Krishna's the creator of nature. So here, from the very beginning, we're getting such a principle that the path of knowledge, the path of bhakti, is in taking shelter of the higher power of Krishna, of God's grace, as it is coming down to us through those who are representing the Lord. Gita Jayanti. The context in which Bhagavad Gita was spoken is orchestrated so perfectly for all of us to understand what is the value of the Gita and how to approach it. It's not just an academic study. If it was an academic study, Krishna would have invited Arjuna to a classroom. And in modern age, he would have had, what do they call those projector and PowerPoint. Krishna's all powerful. Could you imagine what type of PowerPoint he could present? But Bhagavad Gita is not spoken in the context of an academic study. Of course, for us, we need to come to classrooms and come to classes and PowerPoints, But actually, the application of Bhagavad Gita and Srila Prabhupada ends his purport by describing how this is actually really deep and beautiful. The subtle presence of the Lord is felt by the intelligent man who can study the psychic effects of thinking, feeling, and willing. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita was spoken on this battlefield in Kurukshetra. Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetra. It begins with it's on a battlefield. Kurukshetra. And this world war is about to begin. And Arjuna is Krishna's dearmost friend. And he is a completely enlightened person. Otherwise, how could he be such a good friend of Krishna? Krishna's Parthasarathi. Krishna's voluntarily taking the role of the driver for Arjuna. Chariot driver. Arjuna's fighting and getting all the glory of being a great hero, and Krishna's giving water to his horses. He's doing all these menial things that a driver does. So who is this Arjuna? But yet, the Mahabharata is describing all the things that happened that culminate in this war. So much cheating, so much immorality, so much cruelty, so much misconception and lying propaganda. And interestingly, of all the things that led to this war, of the injustices of Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, what is most symbolic of including all the other injustices is the offense that they committed to Draupadi. They tried to poison Bhima. They tried to burn all the Pandavas alive along with Kunti. But still, how they hurt the heart of Draupadi by insulting her. That's a very telling thing of what Dharma is about. That's the focal point, and that's what Srila Prabhupada describes here. So all this happening, and after the insult of Draupadi, they're banished to the forest. Everything's taken away from them. It's like Duryodhana discovered Yudhishthira's palace. Now it's mine, you get out. What they had to go through when they were living in the forest, this is so often they hardly could get enough to eat. They would go out and beg and collect fruits and everything. And when they would bring it back, when Kunti was with them, she would say, divide it in, there's 5 of you, give half to Bhima, and the rest of you can share the rest. So much difficulty. And now, the war. And there's millions of soldiers. And they're assembled on 2 sides. And there's no more any room for diplomacy. That would Krishna personally tried to be a mediator and resolve the conflict. But Duryodhana would not listen. And Dhritarashtra supported his son. Arjuna, he was traumatized by so many of the things that happened to him and his family for so many years. And now there's this culmination where people, Bhishma, Drona, they're all assembled, ready to destroy. Each with total confidence that they will be victorious. And Arjuna, by Krishna in his heart, it's like he was a puppet for Krishna. But it wasn't like he was just playing like an actor. Krishna was putting him in this state of mind for our benefit. Let me see. Krishna, drive my chariot to the middle of the battlefield. I want to see who's assembled. He's giving an instruction to his driver. And Krishna takes the chariot. And Krishna says, just see. And Arjuna could see. He was mortified. What is about to happen? He saw loving relatives and friends who were somehow or other, by the inconceivable power of destiny, they were against each other. Bhishma loved Yudhishthira Maharaj. Drona loved Arjuna. And Yudhishthira loved Bhishma. But yet, the powers of destiny are so inconceivable, it's kill or be killed. It totally broke Arjuna's heart, what he was seeing. When we read the first and second chapters of Bhagavad Gita, this was not just a physical situation. This was a severe emotional breakdown that Arjuna was going through. He couldn't, his heart, his mind could not accommodate what has become of this world. Does that sound familiar? It's supposed to sound familiar because it's life in the material world. It may be actively experienced in this way, but potentially it will. And if it's not happening to me directly, it's happening in so many places. And as we make spiritual advancement, if it's happening anywhere, it's happening to me because we care. Time. Krishna revealed to Arjuna, time I am. And Krishna revealed to Arjuna in the 11th chapter, when he manifests Virat Rupa, the universal form, I'm already devouring everybody. I just want you to take the credit. I want to give you the credit for doing this. I remember somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was such a great acharya. And he was sending Lord Chaitanya's teachings to the Western world. Why didn't he spread the holy name of Krishna and the Sankirtan movement to all the towns and villages of the world? And Srila Prabhupada, so humble, he said he could have done it. He said, but he saved this service for me. That's Srila Prabhupada talking about himself, not me. Prabhupada said he saved the service for himself and his devotees. So Srila Prabhupada took no credit, but yet Krishna's giving credit. So how do we understand what Srila Prabhupada is speaking here? In the 11th chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna, I'm already going to deal with this whole battlefield, but I want you to take the credit of being the hero. And Arjuna fully gets the credit, but doesn't take a single drop from that ocean of credit because he understands it's all Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes after Arjuna won the whole battlefield of the battle of Kurukshetra, after Krishna left the world, some simple cowherd men fought with Arjuna and defeated him. When Krishna got off the chariot crumbled into dust. So this is the very basic principle. Bhagavad Gita was spoken in such a way for us to take it very seriously. And it was spoken in the context of the challenges of life. It was not spoken in the context of just an academic Sanskrit scholarship. That's there. That's definitely there. The 6 Goswamis were the greatest of scholars. But they were living the simplest, most surrendered and austere lives on the banks of the Yamuna and the forests of Vrindavan. So in the same way, this chapter is entitled The Cause of All Causes that we're reading from today. This is Arjuna's conclusion. This is Lord Brahma's conclusion. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that I spoke this knowledge to Vivaswan, the sun god, but somehow or other it has been distracted. So I'm establishing this parampara again today with you. Evam parampara prapta. Lord Ramchandra is the supreme absolute truth, Narayan. But yet when he comes to the world, he's massaging Vishwamitra Muni's legs and doing menial service, going out and begging and bringing food back for his guru. And Lord Sri Krishna, who later manifested the Virat Rupa to Arjuna, he's going out collecting wood for his guru, Sandipani Muni, and listening, inquiring, and learning. Submissiveness, eagerness to hear, and eagerness to serve. Arjuna was really eager to hear. Karpanyo doso bahata svabhava. Narada Muni, seeing the glorious things that Brahma's doing, he's eager to hear. How are you doing it? Is it you? Or is there a power behind you? Brahma was very eager to hear when he was all alone on that lotus flower, not knowing what to do or who to do it with or how to do it. So this feeling of a desperation to take shelter of the Lord is at the very core of transcendental knowledge. Is there any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for a very beautiful, enlightening class. And you are welcome anytime to discover our house. Take it out. Maharaj, you made a very beautiful statement that Brahma is, physically, emotionally, and spiritually fully dependent on Krishna. The question is that we in our sadhana bhakti, we are not, I'll not say fully, we're not at all. Practically, only theoretically we know that we have to be dependent on grace of Guru, on grace of Krishna before we do any activity, whether our material activity, spiritual activity. We have to be dependent theoretically. But in reality, we don't feel dependent. We somehow depend more on our own abilities. And if we do some service, if we do it well, then while people come and praise you, we may say, oh, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru. But somehow our mind still craves for that appreciation. We are not able to get over that thing. So if we were dependent, we wouldn't have that craving. We would know that this is all coming from Guru. So theoretically we know it, sometimes we remember it, but most of the time our mind still brings us back to the fact that I am the doer. So how can we overcome this?
You cannot. None of us can. And that's the beginning to understand. But just to come to the platform where you understand it's an illusion and you want to come out of the illusion, it takes many, many, many births and deaths just to come to that glorious aspiration. We understand what is Maya, the illusory energy. But the vast population of the world, of all species, including humanity, they don't even have a clue that they're under the effect of Maya. They just think this is what life is supposed to be. So this knowledge, during Srila Prabhupada's book marathon, where please everyone distribute as many books as humanly possible. Still a few more days. But why does Srila Prabhupada want us to distribute these books? Because people just don't know. And the only way they'll actually come to really understand is by hearing in the association of devotees. So we're distributing these books, but Srila Prabhupada would insist very strongly, don't just distribute the books, read the books. And don't just read the books, live by the books. Because when somebody just comes in contact, what a blessing. It may be the culmination of millions of births that they could understand Krishna as God. They could understand, I'm not this body, I'm the eternal soul. They can understand that the laws of karma are working on everybody, always. I'm responsible. They could understand the beauty that although Krishna is the almighty, supreme, absolute truth, who's the cause of all causes and all there is, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything and everyone, patram pushpam palam toya. If you offer him a leaf or a flower or a little water or a piece of fruit with devotion, Krishna accepts it. Nehabikramanasosti pratyavayo navidyate. And any offering of devotion that pleases Krishna, Krishna will never ever forget it. We see the almightiness of God and the tenderness, the kindness, and the love of God. Just by a little study of Bhagavad Gita, for the first time in people's lives, they're aware of this. And for devotees who are practicing, we may be beginners, but sometimes, a devotee always thinks he or she is a beginner. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the ultimate absolute relisher of ecstatic love of God. Radha Bhava Duti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupa. And yet he's crying, I have no love for Krishna. Otherwise, how am I still alive in this world? How could, if I had a drop of love of Krishna, I could not live without him. The fact that I'm breathing, I have no love. So the more you love Krishna, the more you realize the eternal essence of Dharma and our own everlasting souls. the more we realize the greatness of God and the more we really feel to be beginners. A neophyte devotee is one who doesn't know anything first, and then we remain a neophyte when we do learn things and we think, I'm advanced. These are two different types of neophyte devotees. One is one who, I don't really know anything, I just want to learn. That's a neophyte devotee. And the other is, I've been around a long time and now I'm a really advanced person. I have so much knowledge and so many abilities and so many accomplishments, and come and follow me. That's another type of neophyte devotee. And an advanced devotee is one, I'm the servant of the servant, and I'm going to do everything I can to be a representative of the higher powers of Guru and Krishna. But how do we come out of that? That's your question. How do we come out of the need for being appreciated and adored for our accomplishments and what we do? Shushrosha Dadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi. We need to develop a taste for hearing about Krishna. We need to develop a taste and eagerness to chant the names of Krishna and the glories of Krishna. And those are all in that, the taste for hearing and chanting the names and glories of the Lord in an actual way, not just an imaginative, emotional way, but in an actual, from the spirit. That's only possible when Krishna, through parampara, when Krishna gives us that higher taste. And for that, when we serve great souls. When we serve great souls, then we're in the proper state of mind for Krishna to give us the actual higher taste. And when we have that higher taste, then we feel far more pleasure in giving credit to another than taking it for ourselves. In fact, the idea of taking credit for ourselves becomes painful. It's not pleasurable, it's actually painful. And we don't have to suffer that pain because we're always giving it. Not only to Srila Prabhupada and our gurus, but to all those who are helping in whatever way. This is such a beautiful feature of this purport that we're reading today. We give so much credit to Brahma and to Narada and to Vyas. But they're not taking any credit for themselves because they know they're all totally dependent on Krishna. And that's why they're able to give us so much. But still, Krishna's on the altar with Shri Radha Gopinath. But Srila Prabhupada's also on his Vyasa-san. So we're worshiping Krishna through the transparent via medium. But in order to be a transparent via medium, you're simply an instrument of Krishna's grace. So we have to establish that as our goal. And then we have to humble ourselves by recognizing that still I have all these needs to be considered great and to be the doer and for people to think I'm advanced and for me to think I'm advanced and all of this. And that's a symptom that we're not really developing a real taste for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. What does it mean to taste? We use this word very commonly. A taste for chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. A taste for Srimad Bhagavatam. What does that mean? It's not just like a flavor of your favorite sweets or something like that. Our tongue can taste things in a certain way, but this taste is such a deep subject matter. What it really means, a taste for the names and the glories of the Lord, hearing and chanting, that means we are relishing giving glory to Krishna. When we're tasting the glories of the acharyas, that means we are experiencing something so ecstatic by glorifying the quality of other devotees, by glorifying Krishna, by glorifying Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. This idea of Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarori Bhasihishnana, Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he told his devotees to do this kirtan, he said, you must take the holy name and take this verse and put it on the string of the holy name and always wear it. To taste Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not just, people have a taste for mathematics. People have a taste for newspapers. Yes, some people like first thing in the day, they just have to see the newspaper. Yes, there's a taste for that. But our taste for Srimad Bhagavatam and chanting of the holy names is something much deeper than that. It's not only our eagerness for it, but it's our eagerness to actually relish that God is great. And the more we relish God is great, the less we have this need for people to think I'm great. We want everybody to understand that God is great. It's not about me, it's about Krishna. It's not about me, it's about Srila Prabhupada. It's not about me, it's about other Vaishnavas, God sisters and God brothers and other devotees. That's a taste for hearing and chanting. That means we're so fulfilled by glorifying Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's beauty and Krishna's knowledge and Krishna's opulence of greatness that's all we need. How is it the Lord Chaitanya at Varahanagar, when he heard this devotee reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, he danced for 9 hours, telling him, keep reciting, keep reciting, keep reciting. What was he hearing? It was not just an intellectual exercise. He was relishing the beauty and the love and the glories of Radha, Gopinath. And that comes through serving. Shushrosha dadanasya. That comes through serving the devotees of the Lord and through in a way where we're eager and we're serious about it. If we're serious about something, then we're willing to discipline ourselves around that principle of what pleases Krishna. At a very advanced state, we don't need discipline because we are naturally, automatically giving everything to Krishna. But when we're still in a state where we have so many distractions and so much need for recognition and glory and pleasures of various subtle and gross forms, then to take seriously what Krishna's given us in his holy names, and Shima Nasta Praya Shibadrishu, we must discipline ourselves. Otherwise, where's the sincerity? Discipline is not about punishing authority. It's about establishing our sincerity. But that discipline must be done with the proper spirit. And yes, we need to regularly hear and chant with the purpose of actually finding our fulfillment in life, not in my glories, but in Krishna's glories, and in those who Krishna loves. And then we can actually be an instrument of that love. Thank you very much. We were speaking of the power and the glory of Lord Brahma. And the eternal glories of the influence of Narada Muni. Narada Muni always is around. He's timeless. He was there in Ram Leela, Krishna Leela, and Srivas Thakur, he was there for Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya's Leela. Time of Prahlad, Dhruva. But the greatness of Narada Muni, his ultimate aspiration, with all of his knowledge and all of his Shakti and all of his influence, he goes to Kusum Srovar, the places where gopis are collecting flowers. And after performing tapasya, he bathes there with the prayer to become a gopi. Lord Brahma, the creator, when he came to test Krishna, and he stole the calves and the gopas, and he came back a year later, which was a moment for him, he saw the same calves and cowherd boys were still there playing. But he had already put them to sleep and kept them in a secret place. He was going back and forth trying to understand who they are. Krishna manifested himself for the whole year, identical to each boy. And Brahma was seriously bewildered by this situation. How is it? And he looked at one cowherd boy. Each cowherd boy has their own cows and goats and buffaloes that they would take care of. And this cowherd boy looked at Brahma and said, "Hey, Aja." Aja means Brahma, who's born without in a supernatural way. But it also means a goat. So the way this boy said it, Brahma understood that he's saying to me that you may be the creator of the universe and all this, but in Vrindavan, you are not even near as important as one of the baby goats in my herd. That's the way the Brijabasis are thinking of Brahma. And Lord Brahma, with all his power and all of his glory, he performs tapasya. And Krishna comes to give him a benediction. Now, Brahma is residing in Brahmaloka. Compared to Brahmaloka, even Indraloka is like, a neighborhood in Bombay or something. It's very simple. Indraloka is gloriously, but Brahmaloka is the ultimate opulence of material existence. And he has so much power and so much health and so much everything. What did he pray? He prayed that Srimati Radharani and her friends and Krishna and his friends and all devotees for all times to come would step on his foreheads. And he would just assist them by just being the ground by which they can step upon. And his foreheads became the 4 hills of Bhadrasana. During Krishna's manifested Leela, that's the way he was serving. The guru of gurus of this universe. He didn't even, who could speak spiritual wisdom more than Brahma? But yet, as the 4 hills of Bhadrasana, he's not saying anything. He's just doing humble service. And at one time, he performed tapasya because he knew Lord Chaitanya would come. And he was given the benediction of being Srila Haridas Thakur. His name is Brahma. Such a name. And he's a man of, he's a guna avatar. He's an avatar of the Lord. And yet he takes his existence in a apparently untouchable family where he's persecuted and criticized and disrespected. From Brahmaloka, he's living in a cave, just wearing a kopin. But in that state of mind, he's constantly chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Narada Muni wants to become a gopi. Lord Shiva, Gopeshwar Mahadev, he performs tapasya to have the service of a gopi. And Lord Brahma wants to be the dust under the feet of the gopis. And in that mood, he's always chanting the holy names as Lord Haridas Thakur. So what is real greatness? Ahajano yenagata sapanta. Who's more learned and austere and full of yogic mystic powers than Lord Shiva? Who is more talented and learned than Lord Brahma? Who's more influential with better followers than Narada Muni? And why do they want to serve Krishna as gopis? They're simple cowherd girls. Because of their unconditional desire to serve and to please Shri Radha Gopinath. It's that unconditional desire to please Shri Radha Gopinath. Gopis are willing to go to hell to relieve Krishna of a headache. We know that beautiful pastime. That is the ultimate standard of spiritual revelation. The gopis, the residents of Vrindavan are constantly singing the names of Krishna for the pleasure of Krishna. You see, chanting the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshiping the deities, going on pilgrimage, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, all these they are processes of devotional service. And we should always be performing these activities in this context. We are doing this to serve with devotion for Krishna's pleasure. Yes, we can discover our own true nature. When we discover our own true nature, we realize we belong to Krishna. Janasya mohoya mamamayeti. Prabhupada's giving this example of Columbus discovering America. But actually, it belongs to Krishna. So when we discover who we are, we realize, I am not this body and nothing is mine. Everything belongs to Krishna. And when we discover this truth, then we no longer have this need to be the enjoyer, the controller, the proprietor, and glorified in all of these ways. Why? Because the mood of service, nothing is mine, everything belongs to Krishna. Everything belongs to those persons who are representing Krishna in my life. That type of service attitude is at the heart of chanting the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, worshiping the deities, and everything else we do. Brahma is most happy to be little hills where he could serve all Krishna and Radharani's devotees. Uddhava wants to be a blade of grass. He's an avatar of Brihaspati, the guru of the Devatas. This should be our meditation when we say all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much.